Welcome back to the Unchurch'd Podcast, where church mics are unmuted. We have had incredible couple of weeks, and our episodes have been steam rolling along, and I'm very excited about today because I have a very special guest with me today, and it's going to be a special podcast for everybody, a little bit for everybody. My beautiful wife is sitting on the couch of our living room with me today. Everybody welcome Miss Halle Fields. Woo!
Hey, everybody.
I feel some Will and Jada vibes on the couch, doing
Definitely.
this podcast thing right now. But we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary. And before we get into it, I'd be remiss not to let everybody know who's watching us on YouTube. We have our very special guest with us, Baby. This is
Baby J. Fields.
Our son of the house,
Hi, baby.
Baby J. Fields. Okay. So we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary, 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. And it's been quite the journey, to say the least.
Yeah.
And so today we wanted to give everybody the opportunity to kind of see the inner parts of our lives and our relationship, to kind of see how we made it to where we are today.
Yeah.
And for real, and it's no joke, it's been quite the roller coaster. A lot of highs, but the lows were really low.
Really low.
But it was really good along the journey. I'm glad we made it so far. So this is a little bit for everybody. Today, the topic in the episode, as you've already seen, is marriage, sex, and stress. Or as she likes to call it, marriage, sex, and mess. But today is going to be really good. So we've been together for, what now? 7.5 years, or something like that. We've been together for about 7.5 years, and with that, I guess we're going to kind of go from before we met, when we started dating, engaged and married, and the little bit in between as well.
Okay.
So we've been together for about 7.5 years, and in us being together for about 7.5 years, what were you doing before we got together? I think because everybody always, look at our story where we at now, but they really don't know the process that it took to kind of get to where we are. And honestly, the journey was necessary. And there is a glorification and an obsession with relationships. But I think along with the obsession, people really don't understand the journey that comes along with being in a relationship like we are in. I mean,
I feel that.
Right. I mean, with every relationship that we have, you can be obsessed about wanting this, and you can want pictures, and you want all of that stuff like that. But there is a story that comes behind all of this stuff that we got going on. So, what do you think? What were you doing before we got together?
So before we got together, I was actually in high school still.
Yeah, I was in college.
You were about to graduate.
Right, I was about to graduate, right.
So you're a year older than me.
Right.
So he graduated a year before me. And we were, I was still in school.
Right.
So obviously I was still heavily involved in cheerleading, heavily involved in volleyball. So I was pretty occupied, as far as, being busy with life. Mm-hmm. I don't think that, relationship was actually something that I thought was kind of as near as what it was.
It wasn't, because you acted like you didn't like me for the first 6 months of me knowing you.
No. So, I was heavily involved in my church at the time. I had my own women's Bible study. So
You did?
Yeah.
I forgot about that almost.
So I was heavily involved in leadership, in ministry, school, everything that I'm doing today. I feel like I was doing it then. Now, I was not as developed as I am now, but I feel like I've always been who I am today. It's always been there. That's
a little stretch, but okay. Okay. But I think, when I first knew who you were, I mean, me personally, I was kind of kicking it already anyway.
Yeah.
I was fresh out of high school, so I mean, I'm not going to lie, for those who watching that may were a part of this. I probably was talking to about 3-4 different people at the time. With
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I mean, I was. I'm not gonna lie, but and I was preaching at your church at the time,
Yeah.
often,
Yeah.
and you just walked past me, act like you didn't like me. Everybody at your church wanted me,
Well.
without a shadow of a doubt. Forgive everybody.
Very true, though. Okay, it's very true.
It is, but it was because we were all young at the time, honestly.
Yeah.
And so, I was kind of the new guy in town, and I was looking at you, though. I guess it was more of a challenge for me than anything.
Yeah.
That I had the opportunity to look at somebody that really didn't want me when I was used to everybody around wanting me. This girl was like ignoring me, telling people verbally out front of me she doesn't like me, she doesn't want to be around me. And I think that was kind of what kind of got my gears going. And I think that's what I think women need to really recognize that anyway.
Yeah.
Is that real men don't really want the woman that is the chaser.
Exactly.
I think one of the most unattractive things that we could ever do as women or anything is to think that the man is going to want the woman who is chasing after, here, give me baby, because baby is going to run all over you. I think that, for anybody who's dating, I think that it's very important for the women to realize that if you want to be seen, or if you want the man to chase after you, you have to sit back and allow him to do that. And it ain't about playing hard to get, but sometimes it's just about knowing your value.
They say a lady should be seen and not heard.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I think that's definitely kind of something that stuck out for us.
Right. Most definitely. It was for me. I think that was the point that kind of got me. And then, we ended up getting together, long story short.
Yeah.
And we dated for quite a bit, but we both had our little situations going on before.
Yeah.
That we had to get over.
Yes.
It took me a little long to get over mine. You were dating how long before me?
I dated someone for 3 years.
Yeah, so you were kind of in something serious.
So yeah, it was from my freshman year until pretty much going into my senior year.
Right.
Pretty much I felt like me cutting that off a few months later, you happened.
Right. So, I mean, and then me, like I said, I was already doing my thing.
Yeah.
I was just a joke, y'all. I mean, and we can talk about this now for everybody listening and watching, because everything that we've had before has moved on. People got their own stuff, married,
all that.
Kids and all of that stuff like that, even from my own standpoint of view as well. So it's not something we, can't talk about. But, we had our situations prior, and I was going into yours still with stuff. And so, I mean, what do you think? How was that process for you going from one relationship to the next, trying to get over that? For me, it was kind of like De'Eric had to make up in his mind, I need to let this go, because I was just joking around. I was just playing with, doing my thing, kicking it, thinking I was the man. So I just had to discipline myself to be like, okay, I'm done with these people. Or they just cut me off because they realized I wasn't serious about them and I was moving on with you. For you, it was like you were really in something serious. It didn't end too well. So how did you transition into that with, going into a new relationship?
I feel like I really transitioned, I felt like the way that it ended, it was just so, I don't know. I just, I feel like it was definitely like God doing it, because it was just like I woke up one day and it just was not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you really feel like you really love somebody and you really like this person, and then all of a sudden it just felt like I just did not like them no more.
Yeah.
So it was just like, whatever. Obviously it took a while to still try to cut it off because we dated for so long. So for me, my transition was just I just focused on my relationship with Christ.
Right.
And I stayed busy within my church. So I was serving at my church. I was on the praise and worship team, and I just continued to develop in that area and made sure that I stayed consistent in developing myself.
Right.
But at the same time, I was young, so I still got my options open.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of girls nowadays, especially our age, in their 20s, that are at that point where I've been dating somebody for a long time. How do I cut that thing off to where, because you can't move on to something and it flourish and it be healthy. And I think that's the one word that we really need to admonish, especially when it comes to me and you, is healthy, because every part of our relationship wasn't healthy.
Very true.
Every part, and we'll get into some of that other stuff in a minute, but every part of our relationship wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of people who are still stuck on stuff, trying to move on to things, trying to figure out why what I moved on to isn't healthy. And I think that the reason why is because you can't put two different things together that don't mix and expect it to work. You know what I'm saying? It's like you trying to put hot and cold together and expecting one to work. Either you're going to have to be on one or you have to be on the other. You have all of these ties and these strings and these people.
Yeah.
Eventually, at one point in your life, one is going to get the upper hand. Then it's going to cause a stress and a strain on the other side. And so, for you, what was it how did you get to that point where it was like, okay, I know that this is what I need to cut off and this is what I need to do?
It just wasn't good for me.
Right.
And I feel like, when you're in a relationship and they say, love makes you blind to things, when you're in a relationship, it's very hard to see how toxic it is, no matter how many people around you are telling you how toxic it is. You always want to believe the best and hope for the best. And one day I just realized how toxic it really was. It was so toxic. And there were so many secrets. And, honestly, for me, I was toxic, I felt like. Just for allowing something to be as what it was. We were young, so he was doing his thing.
Yeah.
He was dating me, but he was doing his thing.
Yeah.
He was really doing his thing.
Right.
So, just to be in a relationship like that and know, that it's going on and just trying to wipe over it because you feel like this is the person that you're destined to be with, you just have to realize that there are more fish in the sea.
Right.
This one person is not everything, If you don't move on, you won't see God's best in your life.
Yeah, I think that's what was so powerful for me. Honestly, what you just said was so critical for anybody that is listening, because we'll look at how toxic the other person is, not realizing that if you drink something toxic, if you lay with something toxic, if you live with something toxic, eventually you'll become toxic. And so, for me, me moving into our relationship, I had to realize in my heart, dear, you're so toxic and immature. And especially, and it's not bad. And I think young men need to really understand that at some point you got to understand, if you're going to be honest about what you're doing, just be honest. Now, that is one thing that I'm going to say, for me was in the beginning, I was very honest that this was just what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I was talking to a little bit of everybody, and I was honest with everybody about what I was doing. So, for me, it was like I had to grow up. If I was going to date somebody and be exclusive with somebody, then I had to be exclusive with that person and just be honest about it and tell the truth and say, hey, I'm going to do this, and that's just what it's going to be at the end of the day. And so I was honest with that, but I was honest with myself, saying I was toxic. And so, you said
very true.
So, but when I moved, I moved to college. I went to Oklahoma. You was in high school. Eventually, we got together.
That's when we really became a thing, I feel like.
Yeah. So
you were leaving me, and you knew you wanted to lock this down.
Oh, my God. That's so childish.
You didn't want to be in school thinking I'm at my school.
You was trying. In every way, shape, or form, you were trying. And so, moving on into our dating, we dated for a long time.
Yes, long time.
Long time.
Long
And so,
time.
what were some of the things you learned, I guess, and I'll talk about some of the things I learned, but what some of the things you learned while in that dating that you learned about yourself or about dating, period? For me, I learned in myself that whatever I did when I was alone by myself, I couldn't carry over into our relationship. That was the biggest lesson for me. And I'm going to be honest with everybody that's listening. It is constantly always been the fight of my life because I lived that for so long. You know what I'm saying? And I try to get people to understand that now is that if I could go back like 10 years ago, I would not be under the sea fishing all day and all night because it becomes a part of your nature as a man. You know what I'm saying? As a man, it becomes a who you are. If that's what you're used to doing, that's just it becomes a part of your nature. And for women, I know it sound bad coming from me, but all men are not just doggy dogs.
Yeah.
Some are that's just their nature. That's what they've been doing. And it's a struggle and a strain to get that off of you and get that away from you and be done with that life. So I learned that. Then I learned the biggest lesson for me was, and we're still learning this now, is communication.
Yes.
And how to communicate what you feel and what you think on another level. And I'm sure that was one of your lessons as well that you learned.
Yeah.
Because active listening was our hardest thing.
Yeah, just the other day, I realized that you kept repeating what you were saying because I said something totally opposite of what you were saying. I really had to sit there and think like, okay, that's really not what he said.
Well, active listening for us is like, I always say, do you understand, for a reason?
Yeah.
Because it's so easy for somebody in a relationship to say something. Like if I say, let's paint the wall blue. You want to paint it green. And I say, Halle, we're going to paint the wall blue. What do you think about painting the wall blue? And your response is, so you hate me because I'm saying the wall should be green?
Yeah.
That is, you know what I'm saying? Or if you tell me, De'Eric, let's do this or let's do that. So you don't want to be with me no more because you did.
Yeah.
It's about active listening and trying to find the good in what the other person is saying.
Yeah.
So, I think that fighting fair and fighting you're going to argue. You're going to go back and forth with somebody.
Yes.
You're going to talk about things. You're going to, do this and do that. But at the end of the day, you got to learn to talk, not to fight, but talk to understand.
Very true.
Yeah. So, what you think?
I think some of the things that I've learned is that I can be really selfish. I can be really selfish. You can be really selfish.
Right.
But that's just our nature.
Right.
Like, that's just who we are as individuals. But coming together, I had to learn that, it's not just about me. It's not just about you. It's about us working together. I've learned that all men are...
Go ahead and say
I'm
it.
trying to figure out the word that I'm trying to say. All men are not being raised horribly, if that makes sense. Because I see a lot of times that, like, women say things like, his mom didn't raise him right, or he didn't have a dad in his life, so that's why he acts the way he acts. But what I've learned is that is not true.
Yeah, because I was raised right and acted wrong.
Yeah, you were raised right.
Yeah, and I just acted a
fool.
fool.
Still till this day, like,
Right.
still, like nobody can tell me anything different than that. I've learned that for sure. So just knowing that, a man being taught the right way and not going into a relationship thinking like, oh, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know any better. But in all actuality, you do know better. You're just doing your thing.
Yeah, I think that where you were raised makes a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, how you were raised makes a huge difference to the outlook on life because everybody's going to do something anyway. But at the end of the day, I know that if I do wrong, I know how to go back to what's right because I was raised right. And then on the flip side, I always tell guys when it comes to women, it matters where your family come from, where that woman's family come from. If you look at that woman's family in some way, shape, or form, that background of where they come from is going to arise or is going to be something that is going to have to be discussed. It's going to come out in some way, shape, or form, and I think that's something that every relationship has to look at, even when it comes to how we communicate with each other. I can tell by your mom how you communicate just because I watched your mom.
Yeah.
So I can understand that, and the same thing with me. My mom is strong and, very argumentative. She's going to get her point across. She thinks she knows everything.
She does.
And that's how I was raised. Whatever. That's how I was raised, So that's how I am in our relationship, because that's that. But so that's what you have to prepare yourself for and realize that is a slow turn. That's a Titanic. You can't change somebody's background and history, their development of their environment overnight.
That's right.
It's not going to take 2 weeks or 2 months or 3 months. That's a slow moving Titanic. And I think something that was really huge for us in dating, and I'm going to get to the next spicy thing of us when we were dating, but the big thing for us when we were dating is us realizing how long it takes for things to turn around.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about when we first started dating, and I tell everybody this, so if you don't want to believe me, you can act like it's not true. Your first year of your dating is going to be phenomenal.
It is.
It's absolutely the best thing ever. You just love each other. You take each other out to eat.
It's new. It's fresh.
New. It's the fresh thing. You love.
Fun.
I mean, we was dishing it out, kicking it.
Yeah.
I'm popping up, doing surprises. My granny would tell me, she say, "Dear, I see you taking this young lady out to all these fancy restaurants. You better slow down because guess what? She gonna be looking for something bigger and better next year." And I wasn't listening. We was just on a high. We was doing our thing. Then year 2 came. Then year 3 came. And then it started unraveling itself because you got to find out the truth behind each other. And I think the fear of that is why people don't continue in relationship because they don't want to see the dark side of that person. If you can't handle the dark side of somebody in a relationship, you won't be able to handle the lifetime commitment that comes along with marriage. We had to see the darkest sides of each other in dating, what we hated about each other, and figure out, do I love you through what I hate about you?
Yeah.
Do I love you no matter, do you love my dirty draws at the end of the day? That was the biggest thing that we had. And then realizing that what we didn't like, it would take time for us to develop and figure out what would change. And it can't change overnight. We counsel a lot of dating relationships. We see a lot around us. And truth be told is that a lot of them really don't last because they're looking for a situation to turn around overnight. It'll be, we talk to them on Monday, by next Monday, they like, it still hasn't, ain't nothing happened. Ain't nothing worked. Well, it's not.
He's still doing this. She's still doing that.
Yeah, because it's not overnight like that. It's going to be something that is going to take time. Is going to be developed over time. So it took us time. I think we were fighting all the way up, but we didn't really learn how to deal with one another's struggles and shadows and dark side until we got to year 4. 3 or 4, and we were young too at the same time. Yeah. But we didn't really know how to deal with It was a point when we were dating, I was just like, all right, that's just how Halle is. And there was a point where you were just like, that's just me, And so that was the biggest thing, I think, for us. Another thing I think we learned was about, what sex does to a dating relationship. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about, what is, because obviously, we're pastor and first lady, but let's just be real. We had plenty of sex before we got married. Plenty of sex. I'm just being real. I'm not here to interview you. I'm here to have a conversation with you. So you don't got to wait till I ask you a question to jump in. I'm just being honest. We had plenty of shouldn't have been before we got married. For you, it felt good in the moment, but negatively, what did it do from your standpoint of view?
I think that it really just affected my emotions a lot, where my emotions should not have been affected at the time. It was like my emotions were overly exposed to a place that my heart wasn't ready for.
That's powerful. Yeah, that's powerful.
Because I felt like I was really crazy. Like I was going through a really crazy time in my life.
So sex really before marriage drives you crazy, ladies. That's point number 1.
No, for real. It will make you, I really, and it's almost like you don't even realize how crazy you are in that moment. But now that I am where I am right now and looking back on that, it's like that, that's why I was going crazy like that. That's why I wasn't able to.
We had some of our craziest arguments after we had sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
We fought crazy after we did. And then what was crazy was, this is the Unchurch'd Podcast, so we're just going to be open and honest. Yeah. We know the Lord. You know what I'm saying? We know the Lord, but we put ourselves in demanding, sinful situations that we knew we couldn't overcome. You know?
We really didn't even have to.
Right.
Didn't even have to do it.
Right. Exactly. And so, it just, for me, I think that sex before marriage, and I'll say this to ladies and to men who are trying to develop, is that sex before marriage, it feeds the lust in a man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it feeds the lust in a man.
Yep.
If you are dating somebody, men, I'm talking to men in particular.
Yeah.
If you are dating a woman and you are trying to put out the fire of your lust, you cannot have sex before marriage.
Right.
I'm telling you right now, it is something that is critical to where we are going in marriage, to where we were going in marriage, is that when you are having sex before marriage, and I'm in myself, I know that I didn't talk to all of these different type of women. I didn't do all these things. And I'm in my heart like, Lord, I know I'm trying to be committed to one person. But at the same time, I'm trying to be committed, but I'm still doing sinful stuff. Sin is sin across the board.
Across the board.
So when you deal with fornication,
Yeah.
Women, I don't deal with cheating men, but you're fornicating.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You're fornicating. It's the
thing.
same level of sin that you sinned against God. God allowed him to sin against you, and you feel like he's no better but you don't realize that you're sinning against God at the same time. The strength of our relationship came is when you made the stance, because it wasn't me. I'm be honest. I was ready. Once we started, I was ready gun ho. I'm just being honest. I was going full force. But when you made that stance to say, okay, if we're looking to go forward and get married, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
This is what has to stop. That changed my perspective of, I could have kept drinking the milk without buying the cow. You know what I'm saying? I could have kept drinking the milk without putting some skin in the game. But when you made a demand to say there are certain things that I'm going to hold until we make it serious, that is when I had to mature as a man and say, you know what? If she's really making this stance, then this is what I have to do to continue. I need to man up. I need to mature so that he can understand, and that I can understand as a man, I'm not going to get certain things until I make that next move.
Yeah.
And that's what made the huge difference for me into saying, okay, I need to do something different. That we were pastor let me make this very clear. I didn't start pastor until 2016. We had been dating probably 5 or 6 years by that time. Maybe
13.
Yeah.
Started like 13.
We started so maybe 3 or 4. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So maybe 3 or 4 years by that time. So we were already into that before, and when I became pastor, I know that was when you kind of put that deal breaker on. This is what it's going to be, and that's no other way.
Yeah.
But sex, I think, is so detrimental today. And then another thing was us being together day in and day out. I know that is the most unpopular thing to say, especially to our generation now.
Yep.
But the most toxic thing that happened to us was when we never got our space from each other, when we never were separate from each other. We were together when we woke up. We were together when we went to bed. We seen each other. We went to eat with each. We were working at the same place.
Yep.
And we were wondering what the heck was wrong with us. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
But that was something that was, if you love somebody, you don't have to be with them at all times of the day, all night. It actually shows a lack of trust.
Yeah.
Some people only want to be with somebody all the time because they don't trust what they're going to do when you're not in my presence.
Yep.
That was one of the most toxic things, I think, of the level of what we were doing. When we were in college, I had my own dorm. My mom was so mad. She was paying for me to sleep somewhere, and I was sleeping in your room every single night. In classes together, which we kicked it. But then when we started realizing as we mature, sometimes we have to grow separately. And I think that I gave you this example when I started realizing that is that relationships, they grow up. And I'm talking about dating relationships. They grow up to meet at the top. And I think that most dating relationships try to grow up together, but they don't have an opportunity to meet at the top. What makes marriage so powerful is that you are separate with somebody that has grown up, and then you meet at a certain place, and then you become greater because you've allowed this person to grow. I've allowed you to grow. You allowed me to grow. And now we're better because we've grown and we're now meeting at the top.
Yeah. That was a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, that was good for us and what we did, when we started making those moves. I think another one of the things that was hard for us was we were in the spotlight heavily.
Very heavily.
Yeah, we were in the spotlight heavily, like every day, all day. I was a young preacher, about to be the pastor, you dating the preacher. We were in the spotlight heavily, not just from what we were doing in dating, but even when we started getting engaged, when we got married, we were in the spotlight.
Our whole life,
for
basically,
everything.
is what I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that was good for us, though, because it got us ready for where we are now.
That's what I was about to say. It definitely prepared us, because I was just about to say that I wish, that it wasn't so exclusive so soon. But I'm glad that it was, because if it wasn't, I would not be halfway ready for what's been, happening in our lives today.
Right. Absolutely.
But if you can keep it unexclusive, keep it unexclusive. Yeah. That's what I say, until it's very serious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think posting premature is the worst thing you can do.
The worst.
Like,
but we were so young, it was just like whatever. So I feel like our story is definitely different than a lot of people's stories will be. Mm-hmm. We were so young, so when we got together, marriage wasn't even on our mind. Mm-hmm. Versus if we're this age and we meet somebody and, okay, marriage is kind of, in everybody's mind at this point.
Right.
But I'm in high school. Mm-hmm. I'm not thinking about wedding dress. And, we always, kind of joke about it, but, some girls have, their whole big day planned out. I have never.
Yeah.
It's just.
I didn't play about that wifey, hubby thing. I hated that.
I didn't even feel comfortable calling a man, this is my husband. Even prior to you, I never did that. Not putting anybody down that does do it, but it just wasn't my thing. So, it was never in my mind. I do think that it is crazy and kind of weird, but to each his own. Yeah. However, marriage was just not in my mind at that age. Mm-hmm. So, just us posting and just being kids is kind of how I seen it.
Yeah. What, for me, I think that when did you realize that, you were ready to get married? Because we always talk about the man, when does he know he's ready? But when did you okay, I'm ready for, we need to move forward to the next stage? For me, I knew, once you kind of put those locks on me, Bruno Mars said, you got me feel like I'm locked out of heaven. People don't know what he's talking about, but that's what he was talking about.
No.
It is what he's talking about. You got to listen to the lyrics.
I'm going to listen to that tonight.
But, I knew that. Then I knew once, I knew my future. I knew you were the one I wanted to be with. Yeah. Then I was like, okay, I'm ready. Even if it caused me doing a lot of breaking of myself, because I made a lot of mistakes, y'all, along the way. And that is another topic for another day. But yes. I made a lot of mistakes along the way in dating, engaged, and married. De'Eric made a lot of mistakes.
And so have I. Mine just have not been
public.
Yeah. I think everybody thinks oh, he's just blah, blah, blah. I do stuff too, but it's just not your business.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was hard for me though. And, and I'm not going to lie, any man, and I'm just be real, any man that has ever cheated in any way, shape, or form, I'm talking about from dating, engaged, married, because I've been there in all three stages.
Yeah.
If you've ever done that before, what you need to understand is you have an ability to come back from that.
Yeah.
You have an ability to come back from that. The world won't make it clear to you that. But this is the thing. Most people, and I'm going to be real, and you can speak to this even better, most people don't bounce back from infidelity. Now, let me say this really quickly. If your man, okay, I don't want to get too rude, but if you are in a dating relationship for 6 years and y'all not getting married, you don't have really too much right to be mad at somebody slipping out on you. And I'm just being real with you.
Well.
And the reason why I'm being real with you is because if that date, you have to make that next step of commitment. And
Yes.
eventually, if you don't make that next step of commitment, somebody is going to get bored with being dating. It's going to be the woman or the man. Somebody's going to get tired of being on that stage. So you gotta go to that next place. But if you have ever done that before, and which I have, mine have been so public because of who I am. We would not be together if we listened to the world
Yeah.
and the heartbeat of the world concerning what was going on between us. Now, there's a lot of men who cheat, who do these, women who cheat, and nobody would ever know. Why? Because they might not have the platform that I have. They may not have the spotlight.
Definitely.
I'm a pastor. I pastor a lot of people. A lot of people know me. A lot of people heard of me. You know, I've been the topic of discussions in barbershop, beauty shops, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
But that's because of who I am. And so when you allow other people to talk about the context of what you're going through, you'll never make it. That's
Yeah.
engaged, dating, married, because everybody's going to have their opinion of what they think. Halle, this is what you need to do.
Exactly.
You're not in this
Like,
marriage.
don't say anything to me, actually.
And it's a difference between people being out of concern
Exactly.
and then people just having their own opinion about it.
9 times out of 10, it's just an opinion.
Right. That was a hard thing for me, though. When we started going into getting engaged, I knew De'Eric was not, like, I knew I was freaked up. I knew I was jacked up, bad. I knew I had a huge problem. But this is what I'll tell you all. And honestly, I think this is the first time we've ever really discussed this on podcast. It's hard. In life.
We've never discussed this.
Yeah, I think that for me, what was something you've always said was, I was always honest about this is my struggle.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I struggle with greatly. And so you always set me up for help or whatever the case may be. You never really left me, thrown me through to the side, but you always set me up for help, made sure that I had help. But I was honest.
Yeah.
You know, I think men who cheat and say they faithful are foolish. I think men that mess up and act like they're perfect are the most foolish men in the world.
Exactly, because now not only are you a cheater, but now you're lying too.
Right.
So you're just building and building. Before you know it, you all freaked up in the mind because you have just became so many different people that you
Right.
can't even keep up with what you have going on.
Right. And it's a growing thing.
Yeah.
Just like for for a woman that has a spending problem, it is a growing development for a man who is used to dealing with who's not used to monogamy and not used to being with one person. It is a growing development in their mind.
For sure.
When their fathers did it, when their grandfathers did it,
Yeah.
when they brothers do it, when they have people around them. And then when the world is making it cool to have many, it's
Exactly.
hard for that. And so, but there's always grace for somebody who's honest. There's always more grace. And we'll talk about that on another day, how to get out of that and get away from that. But when we got engaged, when we went into engaged stage, what was some of the stresses of being engaged for you? I think, going into knowing we was about to get married a year later, what were some of the stresses and strains that you seen being engaged? Because there's a lot of people out there that's engaged right now that just love the ring but ain't ready for the stress.
Yeah, it was. You asked earlier, like, how did I know? Like, I was ready. I felt like, I was able to carry the burdens that you had.
Right.
And I felt like we meshed really well. We have literally, like, built RKC together. Like, we have literally, like, we've done so much together that I really just knew, like, this is it for me.
Yeah, I couldn't have built what we are now without you. I'm being honest. And I'm not saying that for romance. Because I'm romantic, hood, and godly.
Oh, God.
But no, I couldn't have done it. Exposure and different outreach, I couldn't have done it.
So I feel like, us being, like, it's like we just work well together.
Right.
So I felt like, not even about longevity, like not even about it just being so long, but just how we work together, how we love each other, how I just love your family, and how you accept mine. Like our worlds just came together and we made it work for us. So I feel like, a lot of people on the outside looking in would never understand. But I don't expect for them to understand because they're not me and they're not you. So no matter how much we express it, even on this podcast, they may not ever understand it.
Social media kills marriages.
It does.
My grandfather and grandmother were in
does.
love with so much, but I couldn't imagine, and Granny tells me this today,
Mm-hmm.
she says she couldn't imagine dating in an age with social media because it destroys people who, it was such a privacy to dating at one point or another, but now it's just like social media
It's just so
destroys what is going on because everybody's in your business. Everybody's in your this. They think they can know this. They think they know that. They think they can say this. They can comment up under it. They can send a message. They can share your post. They can screenshot this. It makes it hard. I couldn't imagine but like you said, it was between us. So we understand it. We are, and I mean, even when you talk about like Will and Jada, I think they're crazy.
They understand them.
Right. And nobody can be mad about that.
Yeah. It's their marriage.
They have a marriage
right.
that nobody has to agree with.
Yeah.
Because nobody's in the bedroom with them.
That's their
And the
business.
scripture even tells you that the bedroom is undefiled. So what you do in your marriage is between y'all and God at the end of the day. What happens between, and I don't know why people I don't know. Oh, I done stepped on my dog.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my God. Baby, I'm sorry. Why y'all let my dog be up under my foot? Oh, Lord.
He's right there.
For the podcast.
Aww.
Oh, he's sad.
Baby.
Okay. Oh, pray for my dog, y'all, in podcast land. We got a new dog for our anniversary, so it's just all over the place. It's bad, too. Maybe it'll sit down now, I guess. I'm sorry, baby. But what was I saying?
You were talking about whatever people have going on in their relationship.
Why do people get so mad by what somebody else got going on?
I don't know. I think that even like...
Because I've seen people get so like pissed off.
Yeah.
Like about somebody else's marriage.
I think that even with like certain stuff that has happened between us and, some people like say really mean things, really harsh things to me. Like people message me and they say the craziest things to me. However, I'll look at their lives and I'll see that, this is something that you dealt with and you didn't make it through how I'm making it through. And people will be jealous about that because you got cheated on and y'all got a divorce. So you want me to do the same thing that you did.
Right.
So you have to do what works for you and really understand the people that are the mad people, the upset people, the people that are talking the most trash are the people who have been in that predicament.
Yeah, some people just want you to be miserable like they are.
Exactly, because if I got on social media today and said, I'm getting divorced, I'm tired of this, blah, 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 I will see so many hand claps, I'm so proud of you, from all the same people that were.
Yeah. People
People
misery.
love destruction.
Yeah.
They love it.
Right.
They love for your life to be torn apart. But I have to, even in marriage, I have to make up in my own mind that we are creating this life that is going to be enjoyable, whether people like it or not. We're going to live an enjoyable life because it's deserved. If we work hard for it, we deserve that.
Yeah.
And the best thing that I could do is make sure that our home is a safe place.
Yeah. And if you can't grow with somebody through that dark time, it's going to be hard when you get married. I mean, we got engaged.
It's gonna be hard.
We got engaged. We lost friends during our engagement. Like, we lost a lot of friends, lots of friends. When we were getting a lot of family.
Yep.
Lost a lot of family.
Yeah.
Some of them still mad to this day. Don't know why.
Yeah.
A lot of family, a lot of friends, people that, I mean, I don't know what for, but just lost a lot of people.
It just happened.
But it's the sacrifice that you have to take to get married, and that comes along with the territory. And so we've been married for a year now.
Yep.
We're at our last leg of the podcast today, but, what's one thing that you really learned from, being married for a year? Because marriage, would you say marriage for the first year is hard? Oh, it's hard for me.
I would say that it's hard. I hear that a lot, that people say that the first year is like the hardest year.
Yeah.
Because we've already like done so much together, I felt like a lot of stuff was kind of already like bank accounts and stuff like that. Like that stuff we've already done. However, it was really hard. It was really difficult. Yeah. Like just being who we are. So many things happen. Like we have church, we have the preschool, we have just trying to be normal people. We have to pastor people. Like I feel like ours was on steroids compared to like what everybody else say. Like I feel like ours was just, everything was just happening so fast.
Yeah. And people don't know we struggled to get married.
Oh my God.
Like we spent a lot of money.
Oh my God.
We probably spent $25,000 to
my
30
God. Like,
on a wedding.
seriously.
But it was the best wedding in the world. Like, I ain't gonna lie, we acted a fool that night. We kicked it. We didn't have a honeymoon because we couldn't afford one.
Literally.
People don't know that. We couldn't afford one. That's why we didn't have one.
Literally.
Because we couldn't afford one. Bishop Younger, who's my mentor, paid for us to come to Virginia. And we went, but we had church every night.
Literally.
My brother died that week.
Yep.
My brother died. They sold the church that we were in.
Yep.
While we were, this is all in a 3.5 week.
It was like right after we got married, everything bad started to happen.
We was like, Lord, is this a sign?
Literally, like, what is going? Because I lost my car. I think that happened like during the that happened during the process. It was hot outside when that happened.
Yeah. My brother died. They sold the church while we were out of town. The
Jeep broke down.
The Jeep broke down. The transmission went out.
Oh my God.
That was bad. That was bad. It was like, we got married July 13th. By August 13th,
we didn't have anything.
We didn't have nothing. The air conditioner in the house was out. It was hot as heck up in here. It was crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And so we went through a lot, but
yeah, because we technically didn't even get to move in together.
No,
right after we got, we were together, but we didn't get to move into our house until like November.
When we came back home from our out of town trip, all hell was breaking loose in Kansas City.
It was breaking
bad. Loose. But, that was necessary. And I think that all struggle is necessary for longevity, and all in all, we could talk 20 podcasts about marriage in 365 days.
For sure.
But, one thing for me, that marriage really taught me. Did I let you say what it taught you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, but it taught me really, about me and what I struggle with still that I thought marriage was going to fix. Marriage does not fix weakness. I want everybody to remember that for the rest of your days. Marriage does not fix weakness.
Like, you can't just go to the altar and be like, all right, I'm done with this life,
No.
y'all. All right, I'm out.
No, it magnifies
No,
it.
it's going to go crazier
Yeah.
because now that there's such a strong demand on your life that you cannot do it, you're going to want to do it even more.
Absolutely.
So before you even get married, I think that it's important to start weaving those things out.
Yeah.
Like, don't go harder in it because you feel like, okay, I'm about to give my life away. No, you need to start pulling back from it because it's not just going to magically disappear.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that we both just kind of...
Yeah, we didn't know.
We didn't really... we went to premarital counseling and stuff like that.
And they were great. My spiritual father was great.
But we just lived life. We didn't really...
Yeah. And I think that we...
sit and plan like I feel like we should have, but we really could not because we had so much going on.
Yeah. Nobody in our families have ever dealt with what we dealt with.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of writing a script in front of our friends. We are open and honest with our friends about everything.
Yeah.
Our friends know all of our life's business.
Yep.
And the reason why we're open with them is because we're writing a script, a manual. This is
Literally.
what you do. This is what you don't do. We've
Literally.
done both. And so that for me, it was just like you're becoming one. And becoming one with you was like, in my mind, you're the most righteous person in the world. And I don't say this I say this when you're not in the room. Halle she don't smoke. She don't drink. She don't cuss. If she do, it's because she's really pissed. She don't go out. She ain't been to the club.
Yeah, I still have not been to the club to this day. That's so crazy to me.
She don't do anything.
I just don't do anything. I don't know why I'm
Me?
like that.
I do a little bit of, I done a little bit of everything. So coming one with you was like, it was hard.
Yeah.
And it's a development. It's a learning. You learn a lot about somebody when you get married. And the first year is going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it. You really got to stick it out. And we go to counseling now. We got
back in it.
Yeah, we got back in counseling now for the first year.
Yeah.
And so finally, Halle, what's the one thing you learned before I get my final benediction? What's the one thing you learned that really shocked your life in these 365 of being married to the craziest man alive?
Right. I think that I've learned the power of resilience.
Wow.
Like, I think a lot of people say, like, I'm a resilient person. I can bounce back from anything. But when you got to be resilient every day you wake up, like, that's a whole different ball game of just having different hardships here and there.
Yeah.
Every day you wake up. you have to bounce back from something. It's like my life. It just feels like I'm always fighting for something. I think that's what I've learned the most. And it has really made me the person that I believe that God has wanted me to be. Like, it's like he's getting something out of me that he really needed me to be so that I can help other people. And I love my life. I mean, this is the life that he's given me. So
Yeah, and we married so we can have free sex.
Oh, God.
I mean, you can cash at me for it or something, but it's swapping back and forth. I mean, that's true. I mean,
Abram,
for those of
please
y'all who
edit
like
that
sex, for those of y'all who like sex, just get married.
No, for real though. But you really can you don't feel bad about it after.
Yeah. If you don't. When we were dating, you do it.
Like we can text each other and talk about it now.
We can have phone sex. All of that. And we're not going to hell for it.
We're not going to hell for it.
You can send nudes. And we not going to hell for it. I mean, it's true.
We're not going to hell for it.
No, you don't have to. So, I mean, I always tell people, the fire of sex is good. But when you frying your chicken, it's good. But when it's on top of your house, it's bad. Right. And sex before marriage is fire on top of your house.
No, for real, it really is.
You didn't sweat it for 3 to 20 minutes. And now you got to repent.
Now you got to sit there and pray. You got to pray that prayer.
Ask the Lord for forgiveness. And so, but I mean, we could talk about that too forever, but, we won't get on that. But sex it's hard too when you get married. In the beginning, it was hard for me.
Yeah.
It was. I'm like.
It's true.
Because she's like, oh my God, here we go again. But, we just, it's becoming, that becoming part of marriage is the huge part of what it is, from passion to everything. Sometimes you just got to, for those of you who married y'all first year, sometimes you just got to lay there until you start feeling like doing it. Yeah. That's what I learned. Sometimes you just got to lay there naked until you feel like doing it. I'm being honest.
Because that is an important part. You can't just not.
Oh, no, you can't just not have sex.
You can't just not.
Somebody going to get mad. You got to do it at least 3 or 4 times a week. At least.
Very true.
When you're married, you got to do it at least 3 or 4 times a week.
You have to.
Because if you do that, for those of you, your women are acting a fool and they don't know how to act, married folks, give it to them 3 or 4 times a week. She won't argue. She's going to cook. Hallie's about to cook for me right after this. She'll cook. She'll clean, vacuum, fold my clothes. I put my feet up and be cool. It's a part of the thing.
Wow. That's crazy.
But passion is so important. And so,
yeah, that's what it is.
In our final, we'll do this again.
It was fun.
We made it a long journey.
We did.
We got our matching tattoos, so we done made it a long journey. But finally, though, for real, for those who are watching this Unchurch'd podcast, listening to the Unchurch'd podcast, I want every person to know, no matter what relationship you're in or what type of relationship you have, number one, I want every woman and man to know God has a specific person for you. Yeah. He has a specific person for you.
He does.
You might not know who that person is. You might know that person, but God has a specific type of person for you. He is already made. Ladies, that man is made out for you.
Yes.
Ladies, that man is there and he's going to chase you down. Yeah. You know when that man is going, because he's going to chase you down. He might be in your inbox right now.
You might not even like him at first.
He might not even be your cup of tea.
No, for real.
You might be chasing something that ain't for you. And there is somebody for you. Men, there is a lady for you.
Yes.
Trust me. And she is there. She knows how to cook. She knows how to clean. And she's very well versed in the bedroom. There is a woman for you. Yes. And I'm being honest with you. Every person, from man and woman, you don't have to settle for less. Yeah. God has the best for you. Now, there is going to be times in your life where you're going to have to stick it out. There's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. With the social media age that we're in, people are going to be in your business. Mm-hmm. They're going to be in your relationship. Yeah. But nothing matters in a relationship besides the 2 people that are in there.
That's right.
I'm going to say this. Every person needs to let their family and their friends know, especially those who have so much opinion. Your opinion doesn't matter. I appreciate it, but it does not matter.
Doesn't matter.
What you think, I appreciate. I'm going to listen to it, but I will not take it and do it. And if I don't do it, it don't mean I don't like you. But I'm going to tell you this. Every relationship needs some other relationship that is healthier than theirs, that has been where they have been, to help them make it to the next stages of their life. If you don't have somebody around you, you need somebody, a mentor, a couple, a group of people that are healthy, that are trying to strive to be better.
Yes.
You need that. Don't isolate yourself in a relationship thinking, oh, we're going to be good forever. There's going to come a day where you're going to need somebody to help you see it from another perspective.
That's
Trust
right.
me, it is going to be hard. Marriage, sex, mess, and stress is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. But if you stick it out, keep God in the center. Keep
God
Christ in the center.
Yeah.
Keep prayer in the center of what
Yeah.
you're dealing with, what you're going through, and he'll help you make it through. Well, until next time, these church mics are still unmuted. We'll see you next time on the Unchurch'd Podcast.
Bye.